Welcome to Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs, the podcast that dives deep into the stories of trailblazers who shape our world. Our co-host Lulu Benavides is a seasoned entrepreneur in the beauty industry, is a photographer, artist, and the proud owner of Lulu's The Salon in Galveston, Texas. Our other co-host, Sue Krokonis Hansen, is a visionary in the entrepreneurial world with years of experience in business innovation and development. Together, they bring you insights, inspiration, and the journeys of remarkable individuals who have made their mark. And with that, let's get started. Renee Rodriguez is a Houston-based visual artist, photographer, and curator known for her powerful visual storytelling that explores culture, community, and social awareness. Her artistic journey began in 2009 when she first exhibited her photography during the Houston PhotoFest biennial at Talento Bilingüe de Houston. After nearly a decade of volunteering and mentorship, she returned in 2018 as a PhotoFest meeting place reviewee, officially marking her emergence as a professional artist. In 2019, Renee made history as the first Latina artist invited by the Museum of the Americas in Washington, D.C. to present her photo book, Redemptive Love, at the inaugural Contemporary Photography Book Fair. That same year, she was invited to exhibit her work indefinitely at the Texas State Capitol, thanks to guidance from arts leaders Ann Graham and Robert Davis of the Texas Preservation Board. Her exhibitions at the Capitol include a Redemptive Love, a 5-year remembrance tribute, a Texans Veterans Tribute Day, U.S. Army, a Texas Veterans Tribute Day, U.S. Marine Corps, and 16 de Septiembre celebration officially recognized by a Texas State Capitol resolution. Through her leadership with Latino cultural organizations, veteran advocacy groups, and Texas heritage initiatives, Renee continues to blend art with purpose. Her mission is clear: to reflect visual awareness of all things forgotten through art that heals, honors, and unites communities. Please welcome to the podcast a visionary artist who turns memory into movement, Renee Rodriguez.
So, Renee, we're so happy to have you here today on our podcast, Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. On behalf of my co-host, Sue Krokonis Hansen, and myself, we welcome you.
Thank you.
Yes. So, Renee, you have been a lifelong photographer whose work has involved in visual arts. Can you take us back a moment when you first realized that photography was just more than an image to you, but a voice for storytelling and awareness? Can you take us back?
Absolutely. That's a beautiful question, by the way. Photography has been my entire lifelong experience since I was 8. But the pinnacle moment, to answer your question best, occurred in the summer of 2016. And I know this definitively because I went from a lifelong admirer of photography to school for photography to inspired by my father's journey, self-taught photographer from Vietnam. Weddings, the commercial gamut, you name it. I tried to fulfill and check off every box I could possibly do under the genre. But the summer of 2016 was the pinnacle change for me when, unfortunately, a tragedy occurred in America that was the Orlando nightclub Pulse shootings. And I was in Galveston. I was under treatment for cancer at the time. And I had just returned from chemo and put the news on. And I was preparing to watch, I believe it was the Tony Awards that evening in New York. And Hamilton, the play, was the significant Broadway production experience of all. And I was enamored with that whole production and wanted to see everything about it. When the news, CNN and everything was flashing the tragedy that occurred in Orlando that day. That moment single-handedly changed my vision. That moment allowed me to realize as a human, what am I doing with my photography? What am I doing with this gift that I have? And that experience so profoundly touched me because after hours of all of that on TV, they go to the Tony Awards and there's Lin-Manuel Miranda getting his acceptance speech. Of all days, it was live. And when he shared love is love is love, that was all I needed to hear to inspire my vision to go into a direction that I needed to use my visual voice. So that was the turning point for me for awareness photography that birthed my own vision, that birthed an entire experience within myself as a female, as a photographer, that, wow, what am I doing with this gift?
Mhm.
So that was my pinnacle turnaround to go into what I have become.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Lulu had shared with me that you began your professional journey sort of at the Houston PhotoFest back in 2009. Lulu's kind of partial to people from that area. And, and that you later returned, I think, in 2018, and you did a meeting place revival participation. I have no idea what that means, so you have to kind of explain that to the audience. But what I'm really curious about is how did that experience begin to shape the direction as a visual artist and curator? Because that's a very another level within what you do.
It is. It is. That is all. Let's unpack that, if you
Yeah,
will.
please.
So,
It's a lot.
so basically, PhotoFest, the Houston PhotoFest, is a biennial that I try my hardest to share that with everyone in my circle of humanity. If you are an avid novice of photography, if you are a professional, lifelong professional, there are people still today I encounter that have never heard of Houston PhotoFest. And what is it? It is a beautiful forum of fine art photographers at their ultimate performances of every aspect of photography, every subject matter, every category. There is a biennial in Houston that birthed in Houston in the mid-80s, and it is now worldwide. So it's a photography forum that showcases the world's best, if you will, for a period of time every 2 years, and the entire city of Houston becomes a photography gallery, if you will. The medical district, the airport, the municipalities, the universities. There is a level of spots, I want to say, and forgive me, Houston PhotoFest, but there is a level of juried experiences, their exhibitions, if you will. So individuals worldwide, nationwide, statewide can log into Houston PhotoFest with a FOTO Fest, by the way, and go and check out their beautiful website. I'm a product of that today, so that's why it's important for me to share. This is where it began for me, to see creatively, deeply, if you will. I honor PhotoFest for inspiring me this way. And so back in the early mid-80s, while I was a photography student at Texas City High School, PhotoFest was coming to the George R. Brown Convention Center. And if I recall, Ansel Adams, our great American photographer of all time, the great Mr. Ansel Adams, was going to be part of this showcase. And our photojournalism instructor had told us, and we were going to get to go as a class of 10th grade photojournalists and seniors to this PhotoFest. Well, unfortunately, Mr. Adams passed before we had the opportunity. Back in the day, the George R. Brown had photography like a convention. Sony, Pentax, all the greats, Canon, Nikon would show up with these mega displays, if you will, and I begged my father to take me to this event because I had heard through my instructor how important this level of photography that I'd never heard was coming. So I was inspired very early in my youth to go explore, see, learn, and then from there. And back in the day, ladies, this was a world of men, by the way. I was the only girl in the building. I mean, there were ladies there, but I was a teenager, and my father was just an avid novice photographer that was just, it was his blood. He loved photography. And so this was something we shared together, but PhotoFest basically has prepared a major, beautiful platform to allow from every level of where you are as a visual art, individual to go into visual arts. So I grew through this, I volunteered for over 7 years. I used all of my vacations from work. 1 week out of my 2-week vacations, I would go and dive into networking and learning and absorbing and just being around like-minded visual individuals that were at a whole nother level that I craved. That's where a lot of that came from. Houston PhotoFest reviewee participant experience is different. There is categories. There's one for the public, and then there's a deeper level, in my definition, to give them honor, of taking, let's say, 200 to 500 individual fine art photographers next level. So they're juried experiences and interviews. I was one of those individuals back in 2018. Okay. And you have a series of interviews from professionals from all walks of life. Say the editor of Time Life magazine is there. Yeah. Or the curator from the Museum of Fine Arts. And all of these huge, beautiful entities, they all collaborate there. Mm-hmm. And it is just a world for a week of life where you're absorbing photography from the most talented contemporary individuals to individuals that just want to come and get some advice. How do I get better? Whatever stage of life you are. I absorbed that experience, ladies, so deeply that at some point as a volunteer, the PhotoFest staff was saying, Renee, come on, when are you going to be a reviewee? It's time. You know what you're doing. You're ready. But I needed to study and have my lighting down. I needed to feel worthy to walk into that encounter at the level that I was seeing come from all little corners of the world. I thought, how in the world am I going to have a portfolio to produce this? Yeah. And so, elaborating, if I may, I share this because young individuals today, photography I'm seeing in the last couple of months, ironically, is making a turnaround. There are youth carrying cameras around their neck now. And I'm not sure where the inspiration is coming from, but I am digging it all the way around because there is a generational cycle of opportunity there to re-inspire, and photography is going to be here always. Yes. I think that when any category of something that you care about, dive into it, learn it, master it to any degree that you want. Lulu, you're the guru here of the hair industry before us, and you know very well you've spent your career going to seminars, workshops, you name it. And so, like any category, food, fashion, doesn't matter what it is, to go next level, you got to do some homework. And that was my inspiration, was I had the opportunity to walk in and I had to make a decision. Where is going to be the moment that I feel ready? Yeah. And I think for everyone, we all know that answer when that day arrives. And you just have to go with that. You've got your education. Life is your biggest mentor. Mm-hmm. And, you know, walking into PhotoFest at a time in my life when health was not the best moment of my life, I had to just go for it and say, if I don't do it now, I never will. And what came out of that is where I'm at today.
Can I ask, is PhotoFest still going on in Houston? When would the next one be? And how could people, again, who are just being exposed through you to this, find PhotoFest?
Mm-hmm. Anyone can go to their website, and forgive me, it should be www.photofest.org.
With an
or
F.
Houston with an F, FOTOFEST.org. The whole world of PhotoFest is right there in that website. And then you can see when the next biennials are. I apologize, I'm a little off track on if we're in between years. So it's every 2 years that the festival comes to Houston. Anyone can apply to a juried experience. Yeah. All the details are there. There's usually a theme, like for the year, or however, say water is the theme, and all of the participants will produce a body of work, a portfolio to go and have, you know, the juried experience. And you're going to walk out bigger and better than any opportunity, just meeting individuals that are like-minded and will guide you with the heartbeat of the love for photography.
Thank you for sharing that, because it just sounds like it's incredible.
It is. It is.
So, Renee, your book, Redemption Love, was featured in the Museum of the Americas in Washington, D.C., making you the first Latina female artist to be part of the inaugural event. Can you tell the audience what inspired you to create this particular project? You said a little bit about it in the beginning, but I was somewhat involved in it, and I saw your piece that
Yes.
you designed. So can you tell the audience about that?
Yes. So again, going back to the beginning of our conversation, 2016, tragedy unfortunately opened my eyes, opened my heart. As a human, as a female, as an artist, I didn't consider myself a visual artist. I prided the love of using, I'm a photographer because I am a photographer. But photography has grown. It's like a puzzle piece. There are the pieces to make the outcome. And in the visual arts, photography is definitely one of those genres. The opportunity, I have not produced this book, Redemptive Love, out of honor and respect for the victims, the 49 victims that passed in that tragedy. So what I did in my call to self, call to action back in a time when society was just now, ladies, back in the 2015, 2016, our country, this was the beginning of these unfortunate, horrific tragedies, these shootings. There were just an avalanche of so many. I never thought in my time as a female from Galveston, born and raised on the island, doing wedding photography, doing sports photography, doing family and portraits and high school and all the traditional things, that my life turned on a dime overnight with the news of that. Because what happened was I decided, how do you react to something like that? And so that's what happened. The book was a result of, I had no way to go to my own PhotoFest reviewee invitation without a product in my hand. How do you take a 40-foot wall of an exhibition? So basically, let me backtrack a little bit, the footsteps here. Galveston's Art Walk is so brilliant. Okay, Galveston's Art Walk has been home to so many beautiful individuals that are creatives. That is one of the most beautiful pieces of Galveston, is the creativity aspect, okay? The diversity, the cultural diversity. We have it all in Galveston, okay? I'm a VOI, and so my beautiful friend, my handsome friend, Joey Caroga, is the individual that was part of opening the doors for me at his gallery back in the day on the Strand. And as I was recovering from very detrimental cancer at the time, I was seeking bringing myself back into the world of the arts, and photography was it. So when I was given this opportunity to go on a wall for Art Walk, I utilized my wall space like so many hundreds of artists do every 4 to 6 weeks in Galveston. Coming from PhotoFest, I learned produce something new every time. This was just my own charge.
Right.
I wanted to see something fresh and new every time. That is not the possibility for everybody, okay? Including myself in moments. However, that tragedy occurred, and I decided, how can I speak out about this? How can I share my thoughts and my feelings about a tragedy that occurred across the United States and Florida? Oh my gosh, I have a wall. PhotoFest is, God bless PhotoFest. Galveston Art Walk was coming, and I didn't have an actual body of work, so I made the decision to utilize my space as a tribute for those victims. And that's what birthed the moment. And so the Galveston Daily News showed up. I created something that I've never done. I mean, I've always been in the box of the photographs, the frame, the mat, precision, all the good, beautiful things of presentation. And where I was is I took that hat off. I took the eyes of photography off, and I decided to let my heart just explode on the wall. And I didn't worry about what didn't look right. So what I wanted to do was, I didn't want to see tragedy. I wanted to speak about life. I didn't need to know these individuals to honor them. Right. And so what I decided to do was take a personal photograph of my own journey. And ladies, I'm going to be honest with you, at the time, you know, the GLBT community, the rainbow is significant for love and hope and peace. And I decided to find 49 photographs, 4x6s, casual, from my own walk as a human, as a female. And I took 5 green images, 5 yellow images of sunsets, 5 random individuals in my own visual body of work, and then I created a visual rainbow on the wall at the art walk. And then I created some boards, and I incorporated textures, and I incorporated nails, and I was having a visual conversation with myself, and the answer went on the wall for the individuals to see. So Galveston Daily News showed up with a photographer, and it explored and exploded from there. The birth of my visual arts awareness started there, and people were coming and putting flowers at the wall for the individuals. It was that powerful. Yeah. And I don't give credit to myself. I give credit to the opportunity that was presented to me to have a visual voice and that freedom. So that's where I didn't have an opportunity to take that wall. I had to create a book, because I needed a tangible item to go into PhotoFest, which I was an invited participant, and I literally had to Google and teach myself how to make a book. Yeah. And there was so I did this whole photo series. By the way, there were 2 exhibitions. I did 3 photography exhibitions altogether for the Pulse victims. I've never met anyone. I've never made a dollar bill off of anything on that story. I chose never to produce the book because it was a visual tribute only from my heart and the arts. Excuse me. I was able to package that wall, those exhibitions, through photography, package it up, and take it with me to present to PhotoFest. Yeah. That book is what was invited to Washington, D.C. One of my reviewers was the curator of the Museum of the Americas and invited me to present that book at the inaugural book fair. That's how that happened.
That's fabulous, fabulous. You know, listening to you, this whole concept of visual awareness, when you first started talking, I was thinking of it in terms of photography, lighting, you know, that we do lots of things today, sepia color, all those kind of things. But what it just seems to me, your visual awareness is a whole nother level to you. Can you share, you sort of have, but where do you go inside yourself to, first of all, you're giving of yourself, so you have to be motivated by the subject. Then you have to see the subject in such a way. It's not just randomly putting stuff up, it's the creative process. Can you talk on that for a minute?
Yes. Absolutely. You know, I have been just as surprised at the growth of my vision as what you might be inquisitive about. Mm-hmm. I have allowed myself, I've always seen myself as, I consider myself a visionary. That is the gift that I'm walking the planet with, spiritually, okay? And all of my projects have come from a vision that comes to my heart, and I produce it. But what has grown is my knowledge of how photography works. And so taking the principles of photography, lighting, and all the aesthetics, all of the foundations of the principles of any technique. I was never a technical photographer. The lighting and the commercial aspect was never my strong suit as much as I loved it. Portraiture is what I thought I was meant to do all the days of my life with the camera. Mm-hmm. But I think as we evolve, because life happens, life is happening constantly, and because health has been such a significant part of the last 10 years of my life, that switched my vision.
Yeah.
That formed my vision. That solidified my vision as well. I have learned that, what we learn in the books back in school is profoundly important. That will never, education is the number one forefront of learning any technique and any piece, number one. We grow as life grows, and then we allow ourselves to just evolve and blossom in it. Mm-hmm. And I allowed myself from that one moment in that encounter, being so deeply impacted by death, in my near-death moments due to health, my process became so much deeper. It became the reality that I'm not seeking to please anyone. I'm seeking to walk this journey, be the best version of this genre that I can be. And how can I grow it? Like everything, how can I continue? And so I used my own moments that were not pleasant of health to inspire. How do I approach a topic of awareness? I can look at it two ways. I can go cave in, I can become emotional, or I can flip the script, and photography is light and dark. And let me use the foundation of the word photography. It's writing with light, by the way. Okay? Let me use that as my own tool to turn my head, turn my heart, turn my page, and let me go produce things that will bring awareness in a way that perhaps hasn't been seen or overlooked. And that's the foundation of the process for me, that each tribute opportunity has allowed me to grow that way.
Yeah, that's great. Fabulous.
I love what you said, that photography is light writing, right?
Yes.
That's so incredible. That is really, I'm going to use that term. So meeting Anne Graham and connecting with Robert Davis of the Texas Preserve Arts became a turning point of your work at the Capitol. Can you tell the audience a little bit about that?
Yes. So coming back from the Washington, D.C. opportunity, which was the pinnacle of my height of any invitation, PhotoFest, back to back, the invitation to go and present my book. There was 5 of us. There was 4 men, and I was the only female. We actually presented our books on the floor inside of the Museum of the Americas, which is a box in the middle of Washington, D.C. It was phenomenal. The honor, you start putting in your mind, this is bigger than yourself. I reel myself in because I get really passionate. I'm passionate about photography all my life. In terms of the event is bigger than me, which it always is. About me, it's about my moment where I stand inside of that opportunity. And that launched such a huge turnaround for me. The curator said, go back out into the country, Renee. The nation is yours to go and share how you are doing storytelling visually. Not one word in the book, by the way, ladies. I have the original copy, and I have major plans with it. And the invitation birthed from Washington says, go out into the country and teach everyone how you have done this without one word. You've used photography to honor a tragedy, but I've made it into a beautiful, there's no way to turn tragedy beautiful. I found a key visually to reverse the perspective of how all I'm doing is presenting a visual perspective and incorporating, which is where I'm at today. But back then, I came back to Texas and not one human being knew what to do with me. Arts.
That often happens with women.
I had this beautiful experience, and then I came back to Texas, and it was crickets for a good, with respect. No one understood what I was talking about. No one heard about what I was talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. And that's beautiful. Congratulations, Renee. But there was no door for me to go to. So I called back the curator, and I said, I'm not sure where to go with this. And he guided me to the Texans for the Arts, which is another experience that I highly, highly like to share and educate everybody about. Every state has an arts umbrella, and Texans for the Arts was my newest blessing as well. It's a hub for our states. I call it the heartbeat of the arts in the state of Texas. So they have annual, like everyone, they have annual experiences that you can go to. There I go. Every January, I went to the conferences, absorbed, learned, participated. How do I go next level? And that's how that happened. So the president back in the day, she said, I know where you belong. And she says, I want you to get your book. I want you to meet me, bring your boards, bring your book, which is a whole nother story, ladies. And she said, come to the state capitol, meet me in August on the Star of Texas, and you have a conversation you're going to meet that day. And I did, and I met the individual who was in charge of the Capitol events at the time, and in less than 10 minutes, shared this story, and he said, how soon can you get here? And I'm like, where I'm standing in the rotunda, and I had no words, because at the time I asked for the blessings respectively to put a pin in the invitation, because my father had just been diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
And I needed to come home and resolve that. And they said, this invitation is open. It's not going anywhere. And I made my way. My father knew. My father was my biggest photography mentor, my guide, my ride or die with all of the things beautiful with the camera. Mm-hmm. He knew about it, and my existence today became a promise to him that I would go in and use this invitation in other levels.
That's so cool. Over the years, and I'm reading this, you've created powerful exhibits like the Redemptive Love, a 5-year remembrance tribute, a Texas Veterans Tribute Day. What message do you hope visitors will take away when they see these exhibits?
Yes, ma'am. So that invitation at the Capitol opened the doors. You know, how does anyone go to that auspicious building? It is ostentatious in size, in architecture, in existence. And I stood there looking up at the dome, just like everybody who is in awe when you go as a visitor or an invited anybody. And I thought to myself, how on the planet am I going to produce a message here? And I had to come back home and dive into myself, as I always have, that you have yourself, and you have your skills, and you have your heart, and you put it and you build everything around that. And if you have a building as such, then I learned to let me open this up. This can no longer be about Renee Rodriguez's walk. This is so much bigger. And if a higher entity put myself in that building by blessings and grace, then I'm going to have to go big as this state and as big as this beautiful moment. And I started my own mission to bring awareness to all things forgotten is birthed from just that. There's so many moments on my heart to produce something creatively. And I decided, let me keep it simple. The Trinity is my heart. I try to do things in threes. So I thought, if I approach this building with 3 areas, visually, community, cultural heritage, and health, let me start there and then approach and create a tribute. And so the perspective of awareness is that if, again, going back to flipping the script, something dark or deep, let me turn it around and incorporate the arts and make it a positive message. The tributes community is how I honor our U.S. military women, servicemen and women. I'm working on a specific project that is with each military branch. To my knowledge, I'm the only civilian, and by the way, I'm a civilian doing this in memory of my father, who was a U.S. Army Vietnam veteran. I created a photo series to honor our veterans with the branch. And then I have the building to go tell the story in. And then I seek great collaborators, and that's how Operation Honor Our Local Veterans, who's a Galveston County veterans nonprofit, I asked them to collaborate with me. Let's go to the building to tell the story together to honor our veterans. So we've commemorated the U.S. Army, we've commemorated the U.S. Marines just this year, and culturally, just recently, which is where Lulu was part of, My first cultural moment was to move into the cultural heritage realm as well. So each tribute is a very unique moment, and the vision is to celebrate the topics of opportunity there, and I'd like to turn to health next.
You know, Renee, I've known you for a long time, and it's always about the other person. Knowing you is always about creating opportunity for the other person, and that's what you've done.
Thank you.
So, your most recent event was at the state capitol, which I'm so proud to be part of this whole event. And it was called 16 de Septiembre, Mexican's Independence Day, which is September the 16th, Mexican's Independence Day. And you selected 5 artists, and I'll let you tell the audience why you selected 5 artists, and you selected 5 performers at this
Yes.
capitol. Well, little did I know how big it was.
Yes.
And my husband always tells me, why do you do, well, my children tell me, why do you do this? Why can't you say no? But I did it because of you. I know the history about you. I know that you always think about others. And I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't know it was going to be huge. And out of that event, just from my personal, wellness, or, what I came out of that whole event was that I learned from each artist. I learned from each performer. I learned so much from the speakers that were there at the event. I learned so much about my heritage, which I did not know, which I should know. And it gave me another opportunity to move forward, not only in my profession, but as a person. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. This incredible event.
You're going to get me started, Lulu.
So can you tell the audience what is 16 de Septiembre, Mexican Heritage Day, Mexican Independence Day, what it is, and how you came up with providing all the artists and dancers and speakers? You put this all together. So can you tell the audience about that?
Yes, first of all, thank you. And I still, from the bottom of my heart, sincerely congratulate you for rising up to that invitation, Lulu. I always knew that you had the capacity. I believed in you, just like all of my artists that participate with any opportunity with me there. And I was most excited as well, along with everybody. Everybody has their own legendary moments, but thank you for that. That is what solidifies my heart when I see individuals take that leap and just go for it. So thank you. The 16 de Septiembre is the Mexican Independence Day from Spain, historically. And this happened to be the 215th anniversary, literal historical anniversary on the day. And the invitation goes back to me to last October when, again, my training and my footsteps has always inspired me. PhotoFest, the biennial, every 2 years inspired me to do an honorary tribute every 2 years. And there's a reasoning behind that to move forward to this current exhibition. I thought, okay, that gives me a timeline. It's a lot of effort. She speaks on point. It takes approximately 10, 15 months to do 4 hours worth of work, by the way. Okay? I had over 850 hours invested in this show that we just did, and it didn't start until April.
Yeah.
That's the level of commitment. And I did 2 shows this year, by God's grace. I'm still like, did that really happen? All of that happened. But the bottom line is the invitation occurred last October when I called the Capitol and I asked my amazing mentor group there that, okay, I use the word mentor because I absolutely appreciate and respect the state Capitol staff that handles the calendar of events. And I said, I've been in the building twice. three times, 2018, Redemptive Love, 5th year anniversary. Then 2021 with the U.S. Army commemoration happened on my father's birthday, because that was the day that I set it in stone. My father was U.S. Army, with the Army and Operation Honor Local Veterans. Moving to 2023, that one was in 23. And then this year, April, was the U.S. Marine Corps. And I asked back then, I always look ahead, got to do all the planning. What events on the calendar are available for me to turn my mission of visionary work into culture? Are there any, everything is communication. And all you can do is ask. And so this is how I've come to be in these moments, is if you don't ask, you don't get an answer, right? Mm-hmm. No matter if it's a yes or no, just ask, okay? That's how the military happened, okay? And so there's no brain work behind it other than my heart has these visions, and all I can do is ask. I said, I'm wanting to dive into a cultural moment. I was told, oh, let me look, well, this one, Cinco de Mayo. And I said, I prefer something in the fall, because I was trying to give myself a buffer of creative processing and breath and health and all the pieces of life. And it just turns out that I was told, Renee, there's Desi Sacia September Day, the 16th of September. And I was listening on the phone intently, and I said, okay. And he said, well, this was previously held 30 years in the building by Gonzalo Barrientos, retired senator, legislator, and it's beautiful, and that's available. It's yours. That's how it happened. And I didn't say no to the Capitol. I dived into it. So fast forward, it came to birth that way. I stepped into that opportunity, and I decided, again, speaking on awareness, how do you bring something, and we're in some sensitive times these days, but at the time, I knew profoundly that through the arts, because art is essential to all life, and photography is to mine. And I knew that if I could just dive into the center foundation of the date and go back to the traditions of what makes my cultural heritage as a Mexican American, as a Greek Latina, my mother's individuals are Greek, is to focus on tradition, music. The beauty of the heritage is where that birth. And so the artistry came out.
So I have two little bones to pick with you.
Okay.
The first one is you stole my Lulu from me.
Yeah.
Lulu
Oh my gosh.
doesn't do anything halfway, and I'll never forget it. She said to me, oh, this incredible lady asked me to do this thing. And I said, did you tell her you don't have time? Well, no, I told her I would. I'm working on this. I don't know. I'm thinking I have this. How am I going to get it to the Capitol? What am I going to do? Her whole thing was, and this is very much Lulu, she's such an accomplished person, but she always sees the gifts that everyone around her has. So she was like, her thing was, I want to make sure that it's good enough. I want to make sure that it's right.
Yes.
I want to make sure I'm doing everything that they want, when they want it, how they want it. And I saw the pictures and everything she presented, and it just touched my heart. Obviously, I'm not a Latina, but you could not see that exhibit and not be moved by what was there. And I know that was a labor of love, somebody who institutes it and is, herds the cats, I like to say, big labor of love. So kudos to you. The other thing I would like to say to you is, if in the future you are so moved in honoring veterans, I have a very, very, very special place in my heart for an Airborne Rangers. And they have an unbelievable history, and they are not ones to ever talk about themselves. History talks about them, but they're very proud, but they're also very humble. And that would be a wonderful. And of course, they do huge things, and I'm sure somewhere there would be a great platform for you to do that. So from my heart to yours.
Thank you.
And again, this sort of healing art. I find music and art is the most soothing thing that touches my soul. But to be on the other side of it and be the creator and saying my goal is to heal and touch communities and bring people together thoughtfully in a way that maybe they haven't in the past, to approach that as a creative person, where does that come from? That's such a deep rooted thing. I'm just curious as to the roots of where that comes from.
Very beautiful share, and thank you for the 82nd Airborne nod. I have a very special place for them as well, and I really appreciate that, and note to self on my future.
Yeah.
The most significant center of my entire creativity is my love for God and my love for life.
I knew it. I knew it.
And my love for the gift he gave me as a human being of vision. And my entire walk originally was to be a photographer and be this and that. And I didn't learn until 2016. Titles are wonderful.
Yeah.
And they're deserved. They're earned. That's not what I'm seeking. I'm seeking to use the gift of vision. And I'm most proud of the opportunity that in any given moment, the invitations can always stop, right?
Yes.
So I'm trying to maximize the opportunity in the most auspicious building in the state of Texas to take as many individuals as possible. The center point of my process is exactly that, being true to self, being true to my gift, being true to the vision that's put on my heart, build it, take it to go tell a story. And it has grown so massive into teams. I had 4 teams, by the way. Lulu's right. I have never put a production together. It has grown. I've evolved in that building. I'm growing inside that building. I'm not a curator by Masters of Fine Arts. I'm not. I have a Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Photography from Sam Houston State University. But I add the word because so many people through PhotoFest says, my gosh, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. But the visual arts piece, that process, that center point to the blossoming of any growth visually on a production scale like this is stay true to yourself. I love life. I love humanity. I love my family. I love my entire supportive friends. My bestie deserves the world, and my mother for being the 1 and 2 to hear it all, and keep me in my zone, if you will. It's just that. If you have something to say to the world, and you happen to have a talent or a gift to say it, whether it's music, whether it's writing, whether it's dancing, use it, verbalize it. And I feel that the healing piece is the center. Arts has been around here for generations, for centuries. It's one of the first languages. And so it's not going anywhere. So as just a conduit and a vessel here on a short timeline, I just want to maximize as many stories as I can, keeping the center of creativity and self with guidance and hoping that I can produce something that individuals, when they come to a Renee Rodriguez encounter or experience, as I refer to it, I want my viewers to come and feel something, to see something, hear something, learn something, to walk away to become something as the ultimate.
Yeah. So
That's
cool.
Great. So, Renee, looking ahead, what is your next adventure? Are you willing to share that with the audience?
Yes. Most immediately, I'm very honored and proud that with Operation Honor Local Veterans, I have spent simultaneously while I was creating the Desi Sestia Septembre, coming off of the U.S. Marines back to back in the heart of it for 5.5 months, I will say. I was pursuing tedious permissions with the U.S. Navy to have permission for Houston Fleet Week coming November 5th through 12th. And I approached the U.S. Navy and I called the Navy up and I asked them permission to photograph a very special photo so I may commemorate the U.S. Navy next in 2027 as my next Texas Tribute Veterans Day commemoration. So my goal is to go through each branch with the brand over a biennial experience.
Yeah.
And there will ultimately be 5 photographs, 6 because there's an extra branch now. And the photographs I envision ultimately to have a documentary done on the stories behind them, because it's more powerful also than equally with the tributes that are they're being revealed for.
Mm-hmm.
It's a perspective, and then hopefully a speaking tour at some point so that we can infuse photography in contemporary times. So in early November, I'm going to be able to go capture the photograph with permissions. That part of that was from the Pentagon, and a great part of it was from the Pentagon and the U.S. Navy, so that we can honor our Navy very uniquely. And those images will help bring awareness to PTSD and suicide prevention, is the reason I'm doing this with the organization. So again, if we take a vision of something and utilize that, how it will in turn help. So it's not about me and what I'm doing with the organizations of the permissions. It's what the photograph will do down the road, hopefully to help.
Mm-hmm.
So that is in store. And then health, I'm using my own health to turn tides to bring awareness to several areas, cancer awareness and hearing loss as well. So every issue, every moment has an opportunity for awareness.
Sure.
And that's where I'm headed next.
Yeah.
Heart health awareness being the most immediate.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm just so glad that Lulu invited you to come on our podcast. And I don't know if she told you, but our audience likes this little thing we do called rapid fire, where we ask 5 quick questions to the guests, because I think in those silly little questions, it allows them to see you a little bit better and identify. So are you ready? Can we do it?
Let's go for it.
Okay. When you're creating, are you having coffee, tea, or something else?
Coffee, 100%. I'm a coffee girl.
It's me.
Yes.
I'm a coffee girl. If you could photograph any moment in history, what would it be?
Oh my goodness, that's a big one for me. That's a big one for me. There's not just one moment, ladies. There's too many moments. There's too many moments, from our military to, our celebrations to spirituality. I'm afraid I can't give you just one.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. One word that describes your creative process. One word.
Heart.
Isn't that the truth? Who is an artist or figure that you continue to be inspired by?
That's solidified. Definitely Margaret Bourke-White.
Okay.
Margaret Bourke-White is from the 40s in American photography. She was a solitary female doing great works, and that inspired me tremendously.
Okay.
I can name several, but she was the spearheaded individual.
Yeah, that's very cool. What's one thing people would be surprised to learn about you?
I'm 80% hard of hearing, excuse me. Yeah.
I've been accused of having selective deafness.
Good. I'm in some new devices, and I was going for Dallas Cowboy Blue, but I ended up getting Aqua instead. But I'm using them as an awareness as well.
Yeah. Well, you certainly have not allowed it to limit you in any way, shape, or form. And I'm just so glad I got to meet you, Renee. We love strong women who cut their own path. It's the artists, the icons, and the entrepreneurs. It's that spirit that comes deep within people who have a purpose or feel a purpose, and you fulfill all of that. I'm so grateful to my co-host and wonderful, wonderful friend Lulu for hooking me up and allowing me to have this time with you. It was just inspiring, and I hope to get to Houston when I see Lulu to be able to, come see your work and just maybe get a step further. You're fabulous.
Oh, thank you so much, ladies. Thank you both from the deepest place of my heart. Thank you for the opportunity to use my voice, talk about the works, and great platform. Congratulations to you both. You ladies are doing an incredible job of recognizing all of these beautiful individuals. I'm just happy to be part of it. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Renee. And can you tell the audience where they can find you?
Yes, I am on Instagram as Renee Rodriguez Fine Art Photo. That's really lengthy, but that is the #1 place right now that is the best. I'm on Facebook as well, but in 26 I'm gonna be launching a new website.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Fabulous.
Well, thank you so much for coming on this podcast and being able to share your journey with us, and we just appreciate so much of you. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all very much. Y'all have a blessed day. Take care. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Salute to all of our veterans. Thank you.
Wow, what an episode. That wraps up another exciting edition of Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you're leaving inspired and ready to chase your dreams. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode over at youtube.com/Artists, Icons, Entrepreneurs, as well as Facebook at Lulu Benavides, on IG at Lulu Benavides, at Evolve Hair Solutions as well. And don't forget to visit our website at lulubenavides.com and evolvehairsolutions.com to stay updated. Until next time, keep dreaming big, creating boldly, and making your mark on the world. Thanks for listening, and take care, everyone.